for taking the time to be here. My name is Kevin McCoy, and I'm a field office engineer with the USDA Natural Resources Conservation Service. I'm located on Oahu, but I get to help out farmers on Kauaʻi and Oahu to do soil and water conservation. Today, I'm going to talk about some ways NRCS can help producers address their water needs. So Jenna kind of went over what we do a little bit, but NRCS engineers are part of the planning team that helps clients identify natural resource concerns, develop a conservation plan, and hopefully implement that plan through one of our programs. Many of our producers have water-related concerns, such as not enough water pressure, maybe water isn't available all the time or when they need it. So I'm going to talk about some of the ways we can help producers with livestock water and with irrigation. We assist a lot of producers with prescribed grazing systems to help improve pasture health, which leads to better animal health and production. When we plan these prescribed grazing systems, we often need to design some improvements to the livestock water system to support that. We can provide a lot of different options for ranchers to consider and help them pick a system that's going to meet their needs. This could include water storage if their existing supply is unreliable, or maybe we need to develop a new water supply. We will also plan to design troughs, pumps, pipelines, other supporting practices as needed. So this is just a quick example. This would be a rancher that has maybe a few paddocks in their pasture, but maybe they have one really large paddock that only has water kind of in the middle, maybe at a corral. Cattle have to walk really far to get to the water source. For this example, I said that the rancher is pumping water out of an irrigation ditch, or they're having to haul water to those troughs. So with this setup, the animals can't graze the pasture really evenly, and they have to travel a long ways to get water, which doesn't help. In addition, that irrigation ditch maybe isn't very reliable. Sometimes the water gets shut off for a few days, and that rancher isn't going to have easy access to water during that time. So as an example plan system, we help the rancher out with a prescribed grazing plan, including some cross fencing. So we break up that larger pasture into smaller paddocks. That can help the rancher rotate their cattle around, their animals around that pasture better, improve the utilization. To support that, we'll put in a whole new livestock water system. We could do an intake structure in the ditch. We can use gravity, maybe, hopefully, to convey water from that ditch to a storage tank. And then from the storage tank, we would run pipeline, once again, if possible, by gravity, down to some troughs in each of the paddocks. So every paddock has a trough. There's good access to water. The storage tank provides a buffer so that if the water gets shut off for a few days or a week or something, that rancher is going to have water in reserve. So this system, compared to the existing one, should be easier to manage, more reliable, and should help that rancher make better use of their pasture. Maybe for a ranch that doesn't have a good existing water source near their pastures, or maybe they have water at the bottom of the hill, but then have a bunch of pasture up on a hillside, and they don't have a good way to get water up there. We could look at other options like water harvesting catchment. So this one, we designed a shed roof with gutters to direct rainfall runoff into a storage tank. Ideally, you put this up kind of at a high spot in your pastures, your ranch, and then you can use gravity to deliver that water through pipelines to troughs in the different paddocks. So this system is going to be more economical and reliable in higher rainfall areas. We can use them in lower rainfall areas, but it may be more likely that you'd have to haul water to fill that storage tank as a backup. This is just another version of a catchment. So if we need more catchment area to get enough water, maybe we need more storage, like for a larger ranch or livestock, or perhaps in a drier area. We could do a plastic pond liner on the ground surface and use that to catch water and then divert that either into an above ground tank or into a pond that we build into the ground. So I talked a little about troughs. So on the left, we've got some troughs that have seen better days, maybe ran dry and the cattle knocked them over, or maybe they were overflowing and you know, animals made a muddy patch and caused some erosion. So we always like to plan a nice stable either gravel or concrete pad around the trough to make that an erosion resistant and long lasting trough. This is another example of something we don't like to see. You know, if cattle or animals are currently watering directly in a stream or pond, we could look at developing other water supplies or putting troughs away from the waterway. The goal is to get the animals out of the water. You know, it's going to be good for animal health and safety. You don't want your animals getting stuck in there. And then also improve water quality. And a lot of times we would try to help with fencing out the stream as well to, you know, keep the animals out of the water. We frequently need to add pumps and pipelines to these systems, you know, to move water around. Lots of different options. We can help with solar pumps, portable gas powered pumps, and then pipelines can be buried pipe, above ground pipe, variety of different options. So next, I wanted to talk about irrigation. We work with a lot of farmers who have concerns with their irrigation systems. One is that water is really expensive, might even cost so much that they're limiting how much they water their crops. Other times, farmers have problems with water availability. Maybe the water is only available on certain days, or the water system is old and unreliable. Sometimes it, you know, breaks, it's shut down. Also common are problems with inadequate pressure or flow rate. Something I hear a lot is, you know, the water doesn't get to all of the fields. Maybe the water doesn't make it to the end of the pipeline. And a lot of farmers have some old irrigation infrastructure, like buried pipelines that are leaking. This one photo on the right is some pondweed or something on top of this puddle from a leaking pipe. So how can NRCS, oh, question? Okay, how can NRCS help? The primary resource concern that NRCS is looking at is irrigation efficiency. So we're thinking about how much of the water that's coming onto the farm is getting into the soil where the crop can take that water up and use it. And then we're also looking at how well is the irrigation system working for the farmer? Is it easy to operate and maintain? Can they get water to all of their different fields on a schedule that works for them? And is the type of irrigation system a good fit for the type of crops they're growing? So we like to start with a site visit, you know, meet with the farmer, discuss their overall operations, their goals, what's working well and what isn't for them. And then we can evaluate their irrigation system to estimate, you know, how efficient it is and try to identify things that are working well and areas where we could make some improvements. I like to offer, you know, different options to upgrade an existing system or possibly replace it with a different type of irrigation system to try to make it more efficient and work well for the crops that they're growing. So one option, you know, after evaluating a system, we might recommend that the farmer replaces the entire system. Other times we can identify maybe specific components that are missing or not working correctly. And if we can replace those, we can get the whole system operating efficiently. So for like a drip irrigation system, for example, having properly sized and maintained filters is really important. A lot of times we also need pressure regulators, valves to deliver water to different parts of the farm at different times. So having all those components, you know, sized right and in the right location, properly maintained, is really important to keep the system working well. So another scenario is that we look at switching from one type of irrigation system to another. So common one maybe is if you have some large overhead sprinklers, we could switch to a more efficient drip irrigation or micro sprinkler system. For vegetable crops, drip tape or drip irrigation system often works really well. That's what's shown on this sheet. You can put the water right in the root zone instead of soaking your whole field, so it can help cut down on weeds, save the amount of water you're using. Same thing for farmers growing fruit trees, orchard crops. They could use a drip irrigation system, or they might prefer to use micro sprinklers, where we put small sprinklers either between the trees or maybe one sprinkler next to each tree. That can help get good uniform coverage under the tree canopy. So we work with the farmer to figure out which type of system is going to work best with their operation. Another area we look at is delivery. So the water has to get to the farm, and then on the farm there's probably some large pipelines or maybe a ditch or something to convey that water, and we want to make sure that that delivery system is working well too. One possibility is if you have open earth line irrigation ditches, if we can put some of that water in a closed pipeline, we could reduce some losses there. And for a farm that already has existing pipelines, we want to check and see if there's old pipes that are leaking, maybe damaged valves or things. And so if we can, replace some of that piping and get it all sealed up tight, we can make sure more of that water is getting to their crop. Another thing we look at is water supplies that aren't reliable, or maybe the pressure is too low. One thing I hear a lot is during the middle of the day when everyone's running their water, maybe the pressure drops and then it's too low for the system to work well. So we may be able to improve the operation of the irrigation system by putting in some short-term storage, so we can refill the storage tank or pond when water is available, and then that allows the farmer to irrigate when they need. A lot of times this requires adding in a pump to get pressurize that water coming out of the storage into the irrigation. Finally, anytime we plan upgrades or replacement of an irrigation system, we always provide the farmer with an irrigation water management plan or irrigation schedule. The goal is to provide tools to help the farmer decide when to run the irrigation system and for how long. Soil moisture sensors are another option that can give you a reading of how wet the soil is in the crop root zone. These can be especially useful when water is expensive or the water supply is limited, because they might give you more accurate information to help you to decide when and how long to run the irrigation system. So with this irrigation water management plan, the goal is to kind of be in the sweet spot. If you put on too much water, a lot of times that can stress out crops. If there's no air left in the soil, and similarly, if there's not enough water, your crops are going to be wilting. So our goal is to try to keep in that middle where there's enough water, but also some air left in the soil. And I talked a lot about irrigation and livestock water, but NRCS engineers do help with other resource concerns, other types of practices. The best way to get a hold of us is to reach out to one of the SWCD or NRCS planners. And if it looks like there's some engineering practices we could look at, then they can get in touch with me. Yeah, so thank you so much for your time. And my email's on here if you need.
Does anybody have any questions for Kevin?